going. I just thought I'd drop you straight in there. You can try and I'll do, or you can say a traditional.
I'll do.
What about why I?
Why I, man? Yeah, I like.
You're not a Geordie, are you, lass?
Not really, no.
You're a plastic Geordie.
Plastic Geordie, yeah.
But I like the accent. So, a brief introduction. Yeah, we've been chatting, me and this is Ruth, by the way. Just tell them what PRN is firstly, love.
So PRN is medication that you take, like not prescribed as needed. You take it as and when you need it, so when I get up a height, when I've been on the ward in hospital, they'll give us, like, for example, promethazine hydrochloride to bring us down. If that's not working, lorazepam. Diazepam doesn't touch us. Temazepam. So yeah, it's you take it as and when you need it, but they're very addictive, so they try not to.
Benzodiazepines are the most addictive drug and the worst withdrawal ever. So Ruth is not wired right. The reason I asked her to explain what PRN is because we come to do the interview and she asked me whether I would like her to take some PRN, which would have brought her down another level. Yeah, Ruth has a diagnosis of manic depression, which is now known as bipolar. Manic depression, for me, describes exactly the symptoms and behaviour of people like this young lady. At worst, dark days, can't get out of bed, don't want to do anything, want to die, and want to kill yourself. Yeah, that's fair.
100%, yeah.
The manic bit, the mania, madness, heightened, speaking quickly, distracted, can come across as promiscuous, flirtatious, add alcohol or drugs, makes it 10 times worse. Having spoke to her today, if we judge someone with manic depression, bipolar, from 1 to 10, 1 being just on the scale, 10 being the worst, I'm going to say she's a 9.5. The story is extremely complex. I feel you're quite relaxed now.
Yeah.
So we're going to start. I'm going to ask you, when this first manifested itself. We will just say, great childhood.
Yeah, really good childhood. Got an older brother. Parents together, like, I'd say quite a liberal childhood. So working class, I would say. Parents both teachers, but very, like, I don't know, just a lot of good memories, a lot of lovely holidays. We didn't have a lot, but my mum, and my dad worked hard to give us what we needed.
Yeah.
We went all over the place. We did, even Florida, and, that was a big deal for us. But I had a very, very good childhood, and, my brother supported us a lot when I started getting depressed, when I was, a teenager and stuff. And he understood, and I confided in my brother a lot.
Was it not an issue then, though? As in, no one sort of recognised that it might be a problem or whatever?
So I think I went to the doctors first, the GP, when I was about 12, 13. My mum had looked into anger management. I think I was quite a calm baby when I was born, slept well. And she said from 2, I began to be quite, a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So just full of energy, wild anger, slamming doors. I spoilt a lot of days out, holidays, by being cheeky, disruptive. I wasn't too bad at school. I was probably called a bit of a swot at school until I got into year 9, and then I got in with probably not the wrong people, but I was a bit of a chav.
So would you be about 14?
13, 14. And so I was on antidepressants from about 13, I think, yeah.
Could I just say, so when I was a kid, there was a lass in my year, Joanne. She was lovely, pretty girl. One of my friends went out with her for probably 12 months, which was a long time to be in a relationship at that age. We were all shocked to find out, she was off school, that she tried to take her own life. And the words manic depression were used. I had no idea what that meant. I thought 14 was really young for someone to have a diagnosis way back then. However, you having said that,
I think it is to have that manic depression diagnosis, but I think I wrote a suicide note when I was about 13. Didn't act on it, but felt those feelings deeply, like, especially when, like, I started drinking and stuff, hanging about drinking and stuff, and then, like, when we'd go on holiday, me and my brother would, like, you know, have a few drinks and stuff, and I'd get really drunk. Say me and my brother went on holiday, like, we ended up making friends with it, we ended up on a beach drinking, and I'd just end up suicidal with this drink, and, like, my brother would explain to people, like, oh, she's not well and that, she struggles.
Did you have a diagnosis then or anything?
I think just, like, depression. I think the doctor said, you know, I had depression.
Do you think depression covers a lot of things? I mean, to say someone's depressed, we could have 100 people who doctor says they're all depressed on antidepressants, but they can be all very
I think it's an easy write-off.
That's what I mean. That's
an
what I'm
easy
getting
write-off,
at.
innit? Like, but I don't think I had, like, I think it was more like the downs initially. I wouldn't say I had the manic. But yeah, I think they fob you off with antidepressants, and I think I probably should have had sort of therapy from a younger age rather than the medication, but I'm not a doctor.
I will say where we're going this, there's a lot of things I talk about, mental health not being understood in the community, when it comes to criminal justice, the police and the like dealing with mental health, courts dealing with mental health and everything else. You have been labelled a crazy lady, have you not?
Oh God, like everything, like psycho, nutcase, a lot, like just water off a duck's back.
We're going to drop back into when it first manifested itself, but just to tell you, barred from pubs, barred from supermarkets.
Chemist.
Proper.
You have to laugh.
Proper real bad. Yeah, sometimes if you don't laugh, it's good that you're laughing.
Of course,
you relax now.
Absolutely.
So you tell me when it first started, you know, when it became problematic.
Like clinical, so that's what I always say.
When it first became clinical and really started affecting your life.
So I told you a bit about the episode of Psychosis.
Yeah.
Do you want us to go in the background of that sort of thing?
You can touch it as lightly.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into depth.
Yeah.
You know, just so people have an idea, you know, where it sort of come from and what happened.
So basically, I danced from a young age, trained as a dancer, then ended up doing my degree in dance, ran a dance school for like 10 years, successful, everything was going good. And I honestly, another thing is when I stopped dancing, I think I cracked up. I did a lot of freestyle dancing, high energy stuff, and sometimes I think maybe that kept us on the straight and narrow and away from the diagnosis.
Just kept you level.
Yeah.
Because you
yeah,
were
exerting all that energy. It was full on. I was at uni, then I was teaching, then I was training and all that. And then, like I said to her, all that stopped all of a sudden when my ex-fiance, I've got a job in Dubai, moved there with him, dropped everything. Never been to Dubai before, different rules, different country.
culture.
You're not supposed to live together unless you're married. You have to be careful what you wear. I got shouted at once in the mall because I thought we'd go on the beach and we ended up in a mall. I had like a denim skirt on, shouted at. I got paranoid, anxious, agoraphobic. We were living in like a 5-star hotel service apartment. Everyone thought I was living the dream. Like all the parents at dance school thought I'd got all the money and like ran off to Dubai to live this amazing life. And I was
100 grand in Dubai is not worth a toss, is
exactly.
it? As a salary.
No, and I've got Nout going over there and he's like, there's my card, I'm like, everything's twice expensive. I don't want to be spending money. Like, so I've gone there. I'm on the verge of bankruptcy anyway because my business was a passion project. I didn't plan it financially, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Never been good with money. So obviously I got paranoid, anxious, didn't end up going out, and I thought there's something that I recognise. I've not felt like this before. I'd never really believed in panic attacks, or like I'd had friends that I was like, what? Like what? You know what?
People don't understand if they've never had one.
Yeah.
Never experienced something. It's not real, is it?
Yeah. So I flew home, and I said to Mum that I'm not right. Like I ended up having my first, I think, proper panic attack, and I ended up in the ambulance, hooked up to the ECG. I was like, this is it, I'm dying, it's my last breath.
Can you remember it?
Yeah.
It's horrible, isn't
it?
Yeah.
They were like, Ruth, look at your heart, and you're absolutely fine. And I was like, I felt like don't know, felt just like someone was pulling the air out of us like that. So that panic attack then quite quickly spiraled into paranoid thoughts. A couple of things happened that weren't very nice, just by chance. But I started adding up all these things and it became a plot in my head. It took over me and ended up.
Description.
Yeah, so like anything that was a coincidence, say that fell off there or someone said that there, my brain started connecting all these things, and it ended up there was in my head, there wasn't. In my head, I was going into psychosis, and this plot was forming, and somebody was out to get us, and somebody was out to kill us. But that was so scary because it was so real, Sam. Do you know what I mean? And I was ducking from windows. The TV was communicating with us. Even people I knew didn't believe my mum was my own mum. Said stuff to my brother that's
how did your mum react to that?
Well, that happened when I got sectioned. So I ended up, I went to stay with my partner then's family, because they were like, look, she's not well, come and stay with us. And I thought they had good intentions. I'm not saying they didn't in a way, but I think they were like digging in, you know, what's going on here? She's come home, he's out there. What's happening with the finances? They almost were, not vetting us, that's not the word.
Were you a gold digger?
No.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, to them. Like his sister never liked us, and she was like, my dad said, I hope I'm doing the right thing taking you down here, because I couldn't be driving at that point. So he took us down there, and so I went down for a couple of days. I ended up running out of the house barefoot. I'd been watching the TV, thought Loose Women was talking to us, like literally Loose Women was on it, and I was like, they're talking to me. There's the warning us, the things they're saying. Like, again, there might have been a little something they were discussing.
Can you remember all this quite clear?
I can remember that bit, yeah. With the psychosis, it's easier to remember, I think, strangely. So I've got up. I'm like, I need to get out. She's going to murder us. Like his mother. Ran out barefoot. I don't know how far down the road, like as fast as I could. Knocked on. Then I thought, I need to ring the police. Knocked on this poor bloke's door, whoever he was. I was like, ring the police. Someone's going to kill us. So like, luckily he was like, you know, he could have just shut the door. He rang the police, and obviously the police came. Took us back to where, you know, his parents' house. And we're like, I'm thinking it's everyone else. My auntie and uncle who live in Leeds turn up, so my mum's back home.
And mum's a Yorkshire lass, Leeds lass, so you know she's half right anyway.
Yeah. My mum's rang my uncle, because he lives, you know, down Leeds where my uncle's turned up with it, you know, my auntie, and like, I'm like, I don't know them, I don't trust them. So I was literally like backed into a corner, like I wouldn't trust anyone. Police came, and luckily I had to go with them. I wasn't restrained. They were lovely with us. I wasn't aggressive at that point. I was like, you know,
just scared.
Yeah, backed into a corner. But even thought the police.
Did they arrest you?
No, they didn't arrest us.
Where did they take you?
So they took us. But they never cuffed us. They put us calmly in a car. Female officer in the back. She was lovely, can't fault her. And then took us to Dewsbury Psychiatric Ward Hospital. Yeah. But didn't have a clue. Never been on a psych ward. Never really discussed one.
Did they assess you, or did they keep you overnight?
They kept us straight away.
They booked you in.
Yeah. So I'm guessing it was
a
a
section?
136, is it, or a?
It used to be a one. I don't know whether it's changed now.
I don't know if it's a 4.
That's for your own safety and public protection, isn't it?
It might have been a 136. I think I've been on a 4 as well. I don't know what they sort of said, but I think you had to go through the main hospital to get to the psych ward at that point. I don't know if it's still there, because it was an old school one.
Yeah.
And I remember saying,
is that the first time?
Oh God,
on
yeah.
a psych ward?
But it wasn't clinical looking. Like every other one I've been is clinical looking, and it's clear that it's a hospital. I mean, it was part of the psychosis, but to me it was like, do you know, like a library or something, like that sort of environment. And I remember going and believing honestly, like everyone's acting. I said to the policeman, I remember, I went, everyone's an actor here. And then I was like, can I go home with you? Like, I need to just come home with you, don't I? And like, he was lovely, bless him. Do you know, he could have been like, you know what I mean? He was like, I've got to go home with my wife and my family, Ruth. I didn't mean, can I go home with you in a sexual way? I was like, but because he'd been so reassuring, I was like, I just want to go home with you. Like, I trusted him, yeah. And then, so I'm put on the ward. And then...
Can you remember that? What was it like?
In my head, it was like...
Was it like a mixed ward? Was it just...
Yeah, it was a mixed ward.
How dangerous is that?
Lethal.
You know?
It was terrible. Can't remember any really bad interactions with male patients. It was the male staff.
Do you think people were crazy on that ward? As you're looking at them? Yeah?
Yeah. But I think as well because it was the first ever admission I'd had. But I don't know if this happened, but in my head the memory is people almost crawling on the floor. Do you know, like crawling, rocking, very what you'd say cliche.
But some people
But it's
in some
not a
wards
cliche.
are like that.
It's not a cliche, but what they project on films.
Yeah.
Because it's not always like that, but like the Bronson scenes, the Girl Interrupted scenes, and because it was quite an old school hospital, it was in the mixed ward thing looking back. But to be fair, I think I ended up playing pool and playing darts with the lads, and that was the best part of it. I came out and did a left-handed bullseye.
You've always got a botter with lads and lasses, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So people's crawling on the floor. And then they took us to a room that looked like an old dormitory. And I went, I have to go in there. I went, I can't go in there. And there was people asleep in bed, because I think it must have been quite late at night or early hours of the morning. And to me, they were like, I'm thinking, are they dead bodies? You know, the psychosis. So it was acute paranoid psychosis that I was diagnosed with at that point initially, which is obviously, you know, when you're paranoid, acute just means like on a massive scale, basically.
But you had clarity.
I think now that I'm educated on mental illness and I look back at it, I can look back and remember little bits of it because I've picked it apart a bit.
Yeah.
Do you understand what? And now I know about psychosis. At the time, it was just all a blur. But now, because I've not had psychosis again, but I've seen other people with it, it's the symptoms are very like, you know, when you have a cold, you have like, you know, runny nose, sore throat and a cough. Psychosis, it's like similar. The whole TV's believe it or not, people who don't understand, TV's communicating with you, someone's out to get you. It's almost a tick box.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similar symptoms. So yeah. So anyway, they did put us in a room with my own bed eventually because I was like, I can't.
Did they medicate you?
I don't think they did. Initially, they might have given us some PRM, but that's something that I can't remember. I think they needed to monitor us and assess us because they didn't know what it was.
No.
Because obviously
it's your first admission.
So on my notes, I've got no history of like clinical, you know, mental illness. Is just a bit of depression or whatever there. So they're like trying to figure out what I'm saying, how I'm interacting with people, and what is this. I think it was only the next day. So I think they did my bloods, my OBS, as they do, ECG, urine sample, STI test and all that, like all clear. But do you know another thing that I was telling everyone and believed? I thought I had HIV.
Did you?
Not because I'd slept with someone or that was a part of the psychosis. But someone had said something about my partner at the time, joking that he was a bit camp.
Yeah.
So my subconscious, I think, mind, and then when it's escalated into psych, has gone, oh, what if he's gay and he's give us AIDS? Like, look, so I'm saying to people, I think I've got AIDS. Again, blood tests, you haven't got AIDS, Ruth, but still believed it with the psychosis.
How long were you in that first time?
So I think I was only in 2 days and I got sectioned, I think, on the second day.
Yep. And did you stay there?
I got, because I was obviously far from home, I needed to be under the trust up here. So I got transferred in an ambulance. I think there was 2 staff back to Durham. I think strapped to the bed in the ambulance. When I got sectioned, someone said, you need to break the rules to get out here. So, because I just wanted to get out of the hospital.
Is that once you landed in Durham?
No, that was still in Dewsbury.
Yep.
So before I got sectioned, before I got took to Durham, so this lass was like, you know, like, I'm a witch, you've got to break the rules to get out here. She was giving us crystals. She was like, this'll heal you. And I'm like, so I think I'm slipping in and out of the psychosis. It's settling down. It's come down, but I'm still like, don't know what to believe. So I light a cigarette up on the ward, start smoking it. Can't do that, but I'm thinking if I break the rules, they'll just kick us out. We'll get out. Cleaner comes around the corner, trolley with a bin bag in. So I'm like, what can I do next? So I put the cigarette in the bin bag. I've got a lighter in my hand, obviously, so next thing, like 10 people, and I'm like, what are they doing? I've only lit a cigarette, do you know what I mean? So I've gone like absolute hell for leather, and I mean, it went on for probably about, I don't know how long. There was a bloke couldn't walk the next day and I'd be off work.
Let me just explain. When I've talked about people with mental health and adrenaline, strength of 10 men or whatever, you know, I've been in restraints, where I've been blowing out my arse. We've had 10 staff, then another 10 staff to try and move someone. Yeah.
Don't feel pain. Don't feel, even when I'm well, like, you can punch my head in.
So you're looking at her, she's a petite girl. Believe me, there is people like that, and you can do damage when people are trying to restrain. It doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to hurt them,
no, that's
but you're
the thing, yeah.
you're resisting them restraining you.
It actually comes from fear. Do you know that aggression? The root of it for me is fear. I'm trying to protect myself.
I have been involved in restraints with people with psychosis.
It's like you're fighting for your life at that point. You feel like you've got to fight these people off.
But you don't run out of steam, do you?
No.
You don't run out of fuel.
Oh, I could have gone on forever.
You know, most restraints I've been in, big powerful lads, a minute, 2 minutes at max, they're blowing out their arse, they're done. You got them under restraint.
But it wasn't until they went, we're going to have to jab you. I'd never even watched films really like Girl Interrupted or Bronson or anything that now I have watched. So I just heard injection, jab, and they were like, I looked around and I think I could see them drawing it up, you know, pulling the...
Yep.
So I've...
Liquid cosh.
At that point, I'm not used to having blood injections. I was scared of it. It's fine now because I have to have them all the time. So I can remember being like, on the floor, I was restrained, but I remember just putting my hands down when I heard and saw this injection. Yeah. And I was like, I'll stop, like panicking. And then...
How did they react to that?
I can't really remember. There's like, I say certain bits I can remember. They still had hold of us, but they sort of waited. So they held us down until, because I stiffened up.
Sort of passively, as it were.
Yeah. And then I sort of, as I relaxed, they still had hold of us and they led us into like a room.
Yep.
And there was a doctor sat there. And I don't know what it was, but he passed us like a white tablet and I just took it. And he went, you're sectioned under the mental health.
So did you still get an injection?
No.
So they give it orally.
Yeah.
See, if you take it orally,
yeah,
that's best choice.
Yeah.
If you'd refused,
they'd have to
jab in the ass.
I'm glad that never happened.
Did they put you in a seclusion room?
They did at one point, yeah.
We just explain to people. You've been in different seclusion rooms, haven't you?
I've only been in one. I don't even think there was one in the next ward. That's part of the problem. They need more of them, even on low level
Explain
wards.
what it was.
So the seclusion room I went into was like, well, it's like a padded cell, but that one, it wasn't like a cell. It was like I said to you before, like like soft play. It was coloured. It was like blue, yellow, and red, and it was all over. And I think the walls they looked more like mattresses on the walls.
Yeah.
So it didn't look like a scary room. If that there was nothing you could have ripped down or hurt yourself with. Nothing. It was just padded room.
Well, that is it. It's for your safety. That as close to foolproof as it were.
Yeah, and they need more of them. They need more. Then I went in there.
They took them out. They've taken them out of most places.
I don't get that. I don't get it. They've got one now at one of the wards. I've done a bit of work on some of the wards just this year, and I can't do it though, it's too triggering. But it's like a cell, so it's almost set up like a cell, and I'm like, this is no good for a seclusion room because there's stuff that can break. And the woman showed us around it and she was like, look, they've messed up this. And I'm like, yeah, because they're gonna, if they've got the opportunity to. So this seclusion room at Dewsbury was the best, probably the best thing for us. I went in, kick, but I'm not hurting myself. Do you know what I mean? Because, when I've been in police cells, I'll kick the door, and I mean like that over and over again. I've got I have bad back. I've got, problems to the disc in my back. It's not funny really, but like, so the seclusion room, when I went in, I just kicked fuck out. Sorry for swearing.
It's all right.
My mum told us not to swear.
Did she?
It's hard though, isn't it, when you start talking about certain things.
Right, listen. I'll interject. You take a breath for a minute. Right. Properly not wired right, this one. I'm going to split mental health in two parts. I've worked with people who are mentally unwell, never cause problems. When I say never cause problems, the psychosis, the mental health, the bipolar, the mania in certain individuals, I'm going to say scared. You almost become scared of people like Ruth. You know, they were prisoners who, and that was a good thing, believe me. You were wary and scared of their capabilities, because I've dealt with people like that. It's very difficult. They know no fear. There's no consciousness that they're going to hurt themselves. There's no fear of anything. The strength is unbelievable. They used to call it Hmong strength. That might not be politically correct now, but
Nothing is now.
People will know what I mean. Incredibly difficult to deal with. Put into locks. You know, you're trained as a prison officer to use certain locks and certain routines, procedures, and so they don't work. They don't work. You know, you'll have a load of staff sweating their backs out, and you look at the size of her. And I've told people before, I don't know whether you saw this, there was a lass who was pregnant, 8 months pregnant, psychosis, yeah. They got 2 teams of lads. She was in a prison. 2 teams of lads to go in. The first team went in 4. She wiped them out, destroyed them, pulling helmets off, biting, kicking, punching. She wiped the second lot out. They ended up sending a third lot in. And obviously, as a man, going in a cell to restrain a woman is bad enough, but a woman who's pregnant,
Exactly.
8 months pregnant.
It's horrible, isn't it? But the men initially look at you like, they look you up and down and like, you know, as if to say...
I think it's fair to say that where you live, people know who you are.
God, yeah.
You've probably got some tags as...
Oh, psycho, nutter, stop away from her. Like, literally, to be fair, there's a lot of people that... Not a lot of people, that's a lie. Like, certain individuals that support us because they understand. There's one lad, I'll not name him, but he's been in prison and stuff. And before I got barred from the local for fighting and stuff, he used to shout, "It's not your fault, Ruth. It's not your fault." I did, but that one I honestly didn't. I honestly didn't with that one. I think I'd been doing coke and drinking. I was in some flat, and I think I was like, I'm gonna go home and try and sort things out with my mum or whatever, or whether I was in the hostel or social housing. I was already barred from the pub just for swilling someone. It's not like good, is it? But I haven't had loads and loads of fights, you know, in the street. So I've gone to the pub. I haven't gone onto the property. I saw a lad that I think he was in my brother's year at school, and he was like, "All right, Ruth," obviously pissed coming over, being smart.
Yeah.
And I just went, "Look, have you just got a lighter?" And I genuinely was going to light my tab and walk off.
Cigarette, that.
Yes. 3 lasses came out who were again, I won't name them, older than me. I'd done the nails and that, do you know, like they knew I had problems.
Beauty therapist.
Yeah, was a beauty therapist. They knew who I was, they knew I had problems. They were pissed. Can't really remember, but it was like, oh, the first lass was all right, went, Ruth, you're all right. Second lass come out years ago, I necked on with the dad of her kids. I'm talking when I was 15.
Had a snog.
Yeah. So she's held on to that for years.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, and then she said something like, she's got a fat ass, basically. She's dumpy. Like, you know, I am being horrible, but she was like, you'll never have an ass like mine or some shit like that. And then a mate comes out anyway, next thing I know, they're running towards us like this, like rolling their arms. I'm like, what's going on here? Then a lad come out and said something about one of my family members. I had a can of full fat coke in my hand and it was empty. And I'll be honest, I bent the can and I ripped it in half and I ran in. Luckily, I didn't use that can. Dropped it. So they're going for us. I had a few bats to the head. I just elbow and kick. Can't remember what else. hands in faces. I don't really I've never, not that I'm a fighter, but I don't really punch people in the face. I'll let them punch me and then I'll hang back.
Have you got it now? Mania kicked in.
Yeah. I always be off the map. And like, you know, if someone up to us now, I wouldn't be like
it's
that.
not a brag, that, is it?
Oh God, not at all. Like, I'm no Rocky, do you know what I mean? But I've always liked boxing and MMA, like watching it. I've got a blooming McGregor tattoo there.
Oh, have you?
Because that's what I'm like when I'm manic. I'm like, you'll do nothing, do you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm some
Just
girl.
explain that, the behaviour.
Yeah.
Because we have talked about this, you know, if I'm in a pub, I'm looking, thinking, oh, she's a flirty bird, game on, extrovert, outgoing, all them things. But really, what's going on in your head?
It's manic, I'm unwell.
But you're also quite vulnerable, aren't you?
Oh, I always say...
what I mean is, you know, if I were to come all...
outwardly,
showing you...
attention, I'm like that. Like I always say I'm like a sponge at that point with people. And I'm like, now... I have got, you know, I'm a little bit streetwise when I'm well, and now that I don't drink, I'm like, no, I literally don't go to pubs.
Are you still vulnerable when you're unwell?
Oh God, like 100%. I'll always be vulnerable.
To be fair now, you don't drink. No. You pretty much don't go out because it's safer. You've got a good understanding of where you are, haven't you?
I go for meals. I go out for a meal.
Yeah.
But I will never... I'm saying that now. I have been in pubs for like parties and things like that, family parties only.
Yeah.
But I would never go. I used to go drinking every weekend, and that I can't. Like, if a lad went, "Do you want to go for a few drinks or whatever?" I'd be like, "I can't." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I can't go out for a few drinks. It's too risky." And especially around where I live in Durham, with us being on probation, if a situation arises right in drink that's not even me, and the police get called, they're going to go Ruth.
They know you, don't they?
I am now marked on the system. We had a multi-agency meeting the other day. They've now said appeal your convictions, and I'm like, one, I've pled guilty.
We have gone forward a bit. We
Sorry.
will go back. No, it's fine, love. So she's on probation. She thought she possibly could have been going to prison. She escaped that.
Just.
We'll talk about the reasons later, but you know, it's over years, this, innit? People have got to know you, the police know you, you have reputation around your area, like I say, you're barred from all these places. So you've done Dewsbury, yeah?
Yeah.
When you got out, you come back to Durham. When you've got out, where have you gone? Have you gone back to your mum?
The first time.
So you've gone from Dewsbury. They brought you up Durham.
Released from his section. But they do it gradually, like home leave. You get your visitors in home leave.
How long were you in Durham?
In the county hospital the first time. Not that long, probably just a few weeks. A couple of weeks.
Did they straighten you out?
Yeah, once I was on the olanzapine, I had to have a tribunal to be released from section. I didn't get a solicitor representing myself because I levelled out quite quickly, thank God, like the psychosis.
Medication, it, right? Olanzapine, I've talked about olanzapine, old school antipsychotic. Some of these drugs are amazing. Some people do need them. But like you said, 2 weeks, you represent yourself in a tribunal. So you've gone from, you know, fighting 10 staff, which I don't honestly believe people will believe. I quite definitely do. To represent in a tribunal. When you've got the clarity, you know, you realise where you are and what's happened, what's going through your mind. You know, is this my life now? Are you not thinking that far ahead?
I think at that point I thought, oh, maybe this is just an episode and it's done now, and that'll be it. Like, I'll be all right. And then started, not the psychosis again, but manic episodes, up and down, mood all over the place, and I'm like, don't know what's happening here. And all that next couple of years is a blur.
Did you go in and out of hospitals, forensic units?
I was in hospitals I've been in and out of for the last like over 12 years. So then I think I was more down after that for a couple of years, but I always say I'm safe when I'm down because I'll just isolate, hibernate. I have tried to take my own life, but I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts that I haven't acted on because I just like think of my family.
How do you manage that?
The suicidal thoughts.
Do you still get them now?
Probably every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they fleeting thoughts? Is it something you don't dwell on?
I think now it's not because I'm depressed. It's because of the trauma and the memories and the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment. And, you know, if like I go to the shop, it doesn't happen now, to be fair. No one bothers us. But if someone was to shout something, or I go to a place where I've had a bad memory, and then I think, am I going to be like this forever? Like, should I just like, is it easier for everyone if I'm not here? Like, my family and that, like what I've put them through. It's not like poor me. I want to, you know, make a scene. But selfish, innit? Like, it's not fair. They don't want that. Of course they don't want that.
Well, they don't want to see you suffer, but... So your
But
thoughts are more based around the fact that they'd be better off without you.
And I think sometimes, because I understand the illness, but people say I don't understand, Ruth, or I can't cope with you. And I'm like, but I can't cope with myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not thinking it's funny and thinking I'm clever.
Yeah.
And you know the feeling of suicide, sometimes I want to be peaceful. And I just think...
Very, very sadly, we talked about cliches earlier, but these cliches are for real. So maybe a dozen people I've spoke to who, like, one lass said, I didn't try and commit suicide. I committed suicide, Sam. I'd done it. I'd done what I needed to do to die.
I've done that as well,
The thing that people describe to me, which is really scary, at the point when they think they're going, is the calm and peace. They all say the same. Very peaceful, very calm. Another, well, not a plastic Geordie like you, but another Geordie lass, well, no, who was a nurse. She tried to kill herself in hospital, hung herself from a sink. Yeah, somebody found her, thankfully. But she says, Sam, when I was going, she says it was amazing. She says, I started crying, and it was amazing. Like elation.
Mm-hmm. It's like you've been... When I committed suicide, I tried to commit suicide, however the right wording is. Like, I just remember being like, I remember little bits of being carried into hospital, and then I woke up on a drip and I was like I'm gutted, do you know what I mean?
Sadly, people say that as
like,
well.
It's not worked. There was a bit of relief there for my mum and that, like, but...
I met a mum, like I said, Leeds last salt of the earth.
She's amazing. Like, I couldn't ask for a better mother. Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. She has fought tooth and nail for me, and she still is every day. She is, I don't know, she's like survived, like the guilt I've got for what she's gone through. She's just like such a selfless person.
Yeah, so a mum, little chat. You can have a drink of your Coke now. It's that variety we're on.
Full fat.
Full fat.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Don't pay us.
Cheers. Yeah, don't leave you hanging.
Imagine.
Don't leave you hanging. I'm going to finish this segment now, and then we're going to talk about something I've talked about a lot and the lack of understanding. So I'm briefly going to talk about a mum. A mum obviously cares about a daughter. When they say tooth and nail, right, and diagnosis and things, people get labelled borderline personality disorder. I know enough people. Once you get labelled with something, there's no help. Can't do help for you. You know, you have to fight for everything. You have to fight for treatment. You have to fight for medication. And these people are not wired right. There's something going on. They can't live normal lives, but there's no help. You get a diagnosis. There's no help. Your diagnosis, manic depression, bipolar, went away, didn't it? Somebody wrote it off. Yep. She's not bipolar. Go away. It is a constant battle.
And can I just say, Sam, sorry to
you can
interrupt
say
you.
anything you like, love.
With bipolar, I think it's easier to do the personality disorder. Bipolar is quite difficult to treat because it's complex.
Well, you're going to two ends of a spectrum, aren't you?
Yeah.
You can't give you... If you were depressed, right?
Yeah.
Let's say Prozac. I know that myself from experience. So Prozac for people who are down and depressed is amazing.
Yeah.
If you're anxious and you take Prozac, like my doctor give me, yeah, I would fight the world.
My psychiatrist just taken me off sertraline because I've been sort of going up to the Manic scale, not up to the 9.5 yet.
Sertraline can make you quite...
So I was on sertraline and the mood stabiliser because it was sort of half treating like the bottom and the top of it.
Yeah.
So when I'm going up, that medication's like, she says it's going to send you up and up and
Yeah,
up.
of course it is.
So she took us off that, but I have to like the withdrawal and stuff, not from sertraline, but the withdrawal not from typing when I was in the cell. Sorry, I'm taking you off track.
No, you're not at all. What you have now that you might not see yourself is some clarity. Yeah, you're explaining very clearly what it is, and because depression, wanting to kill yourself, and then the other side, mania, very difficult to treat. You know, it might be that your meds are changing throughout your life, but what I do know is people can get the right medication, the right help, a bang-on psychiatrist, then he can live a normal life. At the minute, you've withdrawn, really, haven't you, from society, as it were, for me.
Yeah,
you've made a conscious choice not to drink, not to go to pubs, not to socialise, not to get into relationships.
And sometimes I don't think about that. I don't think, oh, poor me, have I had to stop everything? Sometimes I
You don't think about poor me anyway, do you?
Nah,
you're not after
not
sympathy
at all.
or anything like that.
Like, I don't want sympathy. There's people much worse. I've got my physical health. I'm very lucky. I have got support now. I haven't always had, but I've got my family. I've got my mum, my dad, my brother and his family, and like I have got a psychiatrist now, but she doesn't know us that well, Sam, yet. She hasn't seen us at my worst because my psychiatrist passed away. God rest his soul. He was amazing.
Good man.
Dr. Sinclair.
Knew you inside out.
Oh God, yeah.
How to react, how to talk to you.
Like that. No
Told you
messing
straight.
about. Oh God. And she's like, it's different when it's a woman. I respond better to men, which women don't like because they think I'm flirting with them, but I'm not. I've got a brother and a dad who are men's men, if that makes sense. I've been around a lot of men growing up.
Yeah.
And I can take banter off men and all that. And I listen to them more. I listen to women if they're talking sense, but I get the whole, like, what's wrong with you, little princess? Do you know what I mean? And she loves herself. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's great, my life. Are you jealous? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what was the question?
No, you've explained that fine.
Yeah.
What I'm going to ask you, and we're going to finish this segment, we'll have a little drink and have a breather. I'm just going to ask you to tell people why we're here doing this. Why you sat in my studio? Why we're doing this?
We're doing it because I always say now, I want to use all this as fuel for my future, but mainly to help others, because I'm like at the point where I go, right, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do with my life? Jobs, I'm educated, I've got a degree. Granted, it's in dance, but I've got good qualifications. I've got a lot of skills. Fitness, beauty. I've had good jobs in accounts. I've got experience in various areas. Jack of all trades, master of none. But the criminal record stuff is going to hold us back. Like the company that I sort of like I'm working with now, I won't be able to get, my manager said it's going to hold you back. She's been in prison, my manager. Yep. She's great with us. Yep. She understands, but she's being honest with us. If I go for an interview, so it might be an internal vacancy for a full-time job, if they've got a lass with no criminal record, then they've got me. What are they going to do? Not going to take me, are they?
I've always said I did a lot of hiring and firing when engineering. Me, I'd take experience, life skills and that all day long, me.
You would, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and
I would.
A lot of people would, but it's just whether you
rules and regs.
Yeah.
You're not allowed.
Bipolar.
Yeah.
Serious mental health condition.
Manic
She's
depression.
on meds. She's got a criminal record. This is going to be difficult to manage as it. The last job I had, I got through a family friend. He was the CEO of, that.
Yeah.
And I just did accounts 16 hours, but he basically was like trying to help us. He was like, I'll give you 16 hours. Ended up losing the plot in the office, chucking coffee everywhere, flipping invoices and that. It's embarrassing. Some people think I'm joking and think it's funny and think I'm acting out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
And
you don't listen. You teach talking to the educated now with mental health and that. I completely, absolutely understand.
Yeah. So I'm doing it because I want all I feel I can do in life, and I am a very caring person, I'm never going to be a mother. Half breaks my heart, but...
You've made that decision, haven't you?
Yeah, because it's not fair, like, to drag a kid through this life. Like, I've got, you know, some of the meds, like the sodium valproate that I was on, I had to sign a form to say they've stopped using it now.
Yeah.
I think they've took it off. And when you're mentally ill, you don't really like, yeah, I'll sign it, whatever.
Yeah.
But the form was like, if you fall pregnant on this medication, there's a high chance that you'll have a deformed fetus.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff. And as a woman, with all my friends, I think, yeah, every single person in my life has got a child. And like, I've got a lot of love to give, but I don't mean to a man. I'm very maternal, and I always have been ever since being a kid myself.
Yep.
I've loved being around like kids, other kids, and like, you know, looking at, and I'd love to look after somebody more than I'd want to be with a man. I'd love to adopt one day, but again, because of my mental health records, it probably won't happen.
Yeah, extremely difficult.
So, but again, I don't think, sometimes I think, I'm half heartbroken about it, but then I think of the positives, and I think I'd hate to be one of them. Imagine the school gates with all the mums, and they're like, but all they do, right?
In your dressing gown and slippers.
I wouldn't be in my dressing gown. But I wouldn't be one of these earth mothers, do you know what I mean? But all they do, right, like in the changing rooms at the gym or wherever I go, all they do, right, and on Instagram, they have kids, right, because that's, you know, they have baby showers with flower walls and balloon arches.
Have
you not seen these women on
No.
Instagram? So they have baby showers, right, and it's all for Instagram. The pictures, like, and the hen do's, right, but they don't do it for the reason that they want to have a baby and get married. It's like, this is the path that you're meant to take, and I've got to make a big thing about it, and everyone needs to know how happy I am. Then it hits reality. They're in the marriage, there's no celebrations, the christening's done or whatever, and then it's like, I've got no sleep, I can't cope, and I get angry. I've got no money. I don't have children if you can't afford to look after them. If you're not well enough to look after them, don't do it. Take some responsibility.
You'd love to have kids, but you just...
So there's a bitterness there, of course there is, and I need to work on that, but...
You're very honest though, aren't you?
Oh, God,
You have a very good grip of where you are.
Yeah, I do. I've got, you know, I'm not thick. I've done, like, I'm not the brightest academically at all, and I'm gullible and naive at times. But I see women and I think, even with friends, I'm like, not my friends, that's not my friends, but let's say acquaintances or people that I've been friends with, they're on Instagram complaining about they've had no sleep, and I'm like, lucky you. I'd love to sleep 3 hours because I've got, you know, I've got a kid. I sleep 3 hours and I have to sit with myself. I've got nothing.
Do your friends understand you? I would imagine you have a very small circle of friends.
There's probably...
And if they don't understand you, are they sort of loyal? You can't expect it. You don't expect everyone to understand you, do you?
I've lost a lot of friends, partly through my own behaviour, actions and stuff like that. When I've been unwell, I've done some horrible things and I've made some mistakes. You know, I ain't killed anyone or done anything like, you know, manipulative or cruel, but all these rash decisions that I've made, words that have come out, you can't expect everyone to stick around. You know what I mean? But I've got probably, honestly, 2 friends. Like, and one of them's, she's took like everything from us. Like, I've put her to the edge and back, and she's never given up, ever. And then I've got another friend who's like a sister, like a big sister figure, and we've been through a lot together, and she'll never give up. But even they've, you know, she's had to ring the police for my own safety.
That's it.
Because I've put on Instagram, I'm going to hang myself. I know I go
So
off it.
people, again, would say like, oh, it's for attention.
Yeah, and I've been mocked, I've been trolled.
Is it for attention?
No.
I mean, you know, somebody...
At that point, it's hard to say, because when I'm well, I do blog on Instagram, and I've got a bit more like, I feel a bit manic and I want to put something on. But because of the context is there now of mental health, and my blog pages.
I've seen it.
Get
Got
what I mean?
A lot of hashtags and everything else.
Yeah, but I'm trying to reach people because they can connect with it if they're unwell. I've had not a single negative comment on that page, not a single bad message. All I've had, if you go on my personal page to my blog page, personal page, it'll be like if I put a selfie on, loads of likes. If I put something on about mental health, everyone's like that. But some people like playing the mental health card, talking about mental health all the time. But I don't do it. I know people get sick of it, and some people play that card and they haven't got the problems. They've been to the doctors and they've had a couple of anxiety tablets or antidepressants. I'm not disregarding that. It's hard, but it's not clinical. When you've been in the psych ward, you're in that system, you know, and your life changes like completely.
We have said you're obviously going to be in psych wards again.
I will be.
There's a possibility at some point you'll end up in prison.
Yeah, if I don't watch my step, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not really about watching my step, it's about my illness. And this is where we've just had a multi-agency meeting with Sergeant of Local Police.
Yep.
Psychiatrist.
It's good that they're on board and people know you.
Just about. Psychiatrist. I've got a community psychiatric nurse and a liaison officer who works sort of between the police and the mental health services. Ultimately, it's not the police's fault, but it's becoming their job to deal with it. And they've now got us flagged up. My CPN went, look, this lass has said she'd rather be sectioned than in a cell, and we could keep her for 40 years. We could keep her for the rest of her life. She'd probably be better off. It'd be an easier route to go to prison because I'd get remanded, you know, if I do anything now before my sentence, suspend sentences, and I'll get remanded, I'll go to prison.
You're on probation, aren't you?
Yeah, 18 weeks, suspended, so I'd do 9 if I did all right, but that could go one or two ways.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Once I'm in there, depending on who else.
It's not good for people like yourself. It won't be a good place. You know, you can't get quiet time. You won't have your mum there, obviously, for support, and obviously paranoia and all that thing will probably kick in.
And other women.
Yeah, other women.
And I don't really do drugs, so I wouldn't be taking anything in or getting in. That probably would go against us. But so I had this multi-agency meeting and I prepared like an agenda, and the copper was like nearly in tears, and I didn't plan to. I just sobbed all the way through it, and I was like, "You've put us in anti-ligature suits, like you didn't medicate us," and like I was black and blue like blokes your size, like. I wasn't lashing out bad, but I remember being in the, you know, where you get processed in custody on the steps and that, the yellow, you know, I had the footsteps on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was having a bit of what I would call argy-bargy, if that makes sense. He was your size.
This is a good place to finish. We're going to do this as a segment. And
he got hold of us by the arms, and he literally, I had finger bruises. I mean, my arms are tiny. And and I was squealing like, honestly, like a pig, like, you know, like, or an animal being tortured. And he just went like that for ages. And I was going, what are you doing? Stop it. Please stop it. But like, he didn't restrain us. And then just, you know, even if he got us and held us or just cuffed us, he just kept squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And I was just like, and I've got assault 5 police officers.
We're going to talk about that. How are you feeling?
I'm sound, yeah. You've probably got makeup on your t-shirt, or
I can take it. Ruth, we'll be back soon. I'll see thee.
I'll see thee.